So we are going to start in a couple of minutes. I'm checking it on YouTube. We are live. I ask those that are not speaking to turn off the camera as it shows a picture of everyone with the camera on. And in a couple of minutes, we are going to start. So we are going to start in a couple of minutes. I'm checking it on YouTube. We are live. I ask those that are not speaking to turn off the camera as it Well, I'm seeing the colleagues are connecting. So in the interest of time, I will say it is time to start. Can you hear me first of all? I understand. Perfect. So good morning, greetings, distinguished guests, esteemed panelists, colleagues that are with us today. It is a great honor to welcome you all to today's webinar organized in celebration of the International Day of Women in Science. My name is Giuseppe Provenzano. I'm a project manager at the Higher Education and Research Division of the Union for the Mediterranean. And I would like to start with a special thanks to our colleagues as well from the Social and Civil Affairs Division for their collaboration in making this event possible. Today, we are proud to bring together an inspiring and diverse groups of experts from various backgrounds and disciplines. This webinar serves as a platform to showcase remarkable success stories, celebrate achievements, highlight barriers still existing, and recognize the significant contribution of women and girls in science and innovation in the Euro-Mediterranean region. The Union for the Mediterranean, the UFM, as an intergovernmental organization focusing on cooperation and development in the Euro-Mediterranean area, remains committed to supporting and recognizing the potential of women and girls in science, fostering an inclusive and equitable future for all. To officially open today's session, it is my great pleasure to introduce our first distinguished speaker, Mr. Joan Borrell, the Deputy Secretary General for Higher Education and Research at the Union for the Mediterranean. Deputy Secretary General will deliver the welcome and opening remarks. So, Deputy Secretary General Joan Borrell, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Giuseppe. Dear colleagues, partners, ladies and gentlemen, it is an honor to address you today on behalf of the Union for the Mediterranean as we celebrate this 10th annual International Day of Women and Girls in Science. This day must be more than just a commemoration. It must be a call to action, a call to break barriers, to champion equality, and to harness the full potential of women and girls in shaping the future of science, innovation, and development. Across our Euro-Mediterranean region, science and technology holds the key to addressing some of our most pressing global challenges: climate change, biodiversity loss, water scarcity, food security, and now also the ethical advancements in artificial intelligence. However, all those challenges can only be effectively tackled if we ensure that all talents, regardless of gender, are fully engaged, supported, and empowered. Despite progress, gender equality in science remains a challenge. Women continue to be underrepresented in key scientific fields, particularly in areas that will shape the future of our economies, such as artificial intelligence, engineering, and technology. And even in the STEAM fields where women's participation is higher, such as life sciences, significant vertical and horizontal segregation persists. Ladies and gentlemen, the Union for the Mediterranean has long recognized the need to advance women's participation in STEM as a strategic priority. In our fifth ministerial declaration on strengthening the role of women in society, that was adopted in Madrid in 2022, we underscore the urgent need for action. The declaration calls for targeted mentorship programs to support women and girls in STEM, leadership initiatives to increase women's roles on scientific research, and funding mechanisms to promote female entrepreneurs in innovation and technology. These commitments align with today's discussions and must be translated into concrete actions. At the UFM, we believe truly in the power of science diplomacy to drive regional cooperation, innovation, and inclusion. In our latest report on science and innovation diplomacy, we highlighted the vital role of women in groundbreaking research, leadership, and policy making. However, systemic barriers remain, and we must do more to ensure that women not only enter STEM fields through access to education, but also thrive in them in their working careers. Because let's face it, we are witnessing in the region a remarkable increase in women when it comes to study and university in STEM careers, particularly, and it might sound counterintuitive to many of us, but particularly in the MENA countries, 57% of STEM graduates are women. However, a stark paradox remains, and it is related with massive youth and graduates unemployment. Please allow me to be clear. Our Mediterranean agenda to promote research and innovation cannot be attained unless systemic barriers are shattered in science and technology. But simply having more women and girls studying STEM will not solve the problem if they cannot integrate into the labor market. The disconnect between education and labor markets needs to be seriously addressed to attain genuine and truly economic development that provides jobs opportunities for all. This is an urgent challenge for all of us. The Union for the Mediterranean stands firmly behind this mission, and we look forward to working together with all of you, governments, academia, civil society, and the private sector, to ensure that science is truly inclusive and representative of our diverse societies. As we engage in today's discussions, let us reaffirm our collective commitment. Let us recognize the incredible achievement already realized by women and girls in STEM, all while at the same time recognizing and reflecting upon the barriers that still hold them back and committing to eliminating them. I wish you all a productive and inspiring discussion, and we'll see you on the ground. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Deputy Secretary General, for your inspiring speech, which has set the stage for today's discussion on the pivotal role of women and girls in science. Now, it is my honor and pleasure to introduce our keynote speaker, Dr. Roula Khadra. Dr. Khadra is the Science Coordinator and International Officer at CIAM Bari, a strong partner of the Union for the Mediterranean, with over 20 years of expertise in water management, agricultural innovation, and sustainable irrigation. As we celebrate the 10th Annual International Day of Women and Girls in Science, it's essential to understand how women in STEM can drive meaningful change in a Mediterranean that faces a web of challenges, from water scarcity and climate change to political instability and economic pressures, all of which profoundly impact the resilience of our communities, especially the most vulnerable. Our speaker has not only excelled in water resource management within her country and region, but has also worked globally, leveraging science diplomacy to foster international cooperation and driven sustainable solutions. Given this challenging context, could you share your journey and insights on how women in STEM can pioneer change for a sustainable Mediterranean? Dr. Roula, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Giuseppe, and very good morning to all of us. Today marks the 10th Annual International Day of Women and Girls in Science, and it is a great honor for me to address you on this significant occasion. Growing up in the Bekaa Valley in Lebanon, I dreamt of bringing positive change to my small community. I wanted to study engineering because it bridges the world as it is and the world as it could be. The engineer is part artist, part scientist. Today, I engineer with and for people. I perform research, test recommendations in the field, and put them into practice with a people-centered approach. The Mediterranean region, where we live and work, is one of the most water-scarce areas globally, facing challenges compounded by climate change, political instability, and complex water governance. Many of its water resources originate from outside its borders, leading to transboundary interactions with political implications shaped by the broader geopolitical context. Factors such as population growth, urbanization, and agriculture, heavily reliant on irrigation, add immense pressure to the region's water resources. Rural communities, however, have long grappled with cyclical drought periods, and climate change is expected to only exacerbate these events, posing serious challenges for food production. Rising temperatures, prolonged droughts, and declining precipitation will shrink the region's arable land, necessitating adaptive strategies such as crop diversification and efficient water management. As arable land diminishes, migration patterns may shift, and reliance on food imports will increase, rendering the region sensitive and, I may say, vulnerable to global food supply chain disruptions. The region faces a delicate balancing act, transitioning away from hydrocarbon dependence while navigating the geopolitical implications of climate change. Science diplomacy plays a crucial role in addressing these challenges. By using scientific collaborations among countries to tackle common problems and build constructive international partnerships, we can bridge, and we have to bridge, the gap between science and international relations. This approach leverages scientific knowledge, research, and cooperation to foster dialogue, understanding, and collaboration among nations. By fostering cooperation, investing in sustainable practices, and envisioning a resilient future, we can shape a new era when energy security and environmental stewardship go hand in hand. Now, in this context, it is very essential to recognize that women and girls must be fully invested in and committed to tackling these challenges. As already said, our region is a testament to the untapped potential of women in STEM, with women comprising 57% of STEM graduates. However, this potential is not fully reflected in the labor market, and the gender gap widens with seniority. Only 19% of full professors, for example, in engineering and technology, are women, and this is only an example. Moreover, women, particularly in developing countries, often bear the brunt of challenges. They are disproportionately affected by natural disasters, food insecurity, and water scarcity. Therefore, it is imperative for women to integrate the process, make the change, and not only advocate or witness it. Moreover, youth engagement is crucial. Young people are not just passive recipients, they are active advocates for change. Their voices, energy, and innovative ideas can drive transformative policies. Encouraging youth participation, whether through education, activism, or policy development, ensures a more inclusive and sustainable approach. Considering the challenges outlined, broad policy strategies need to be pursued. These strategies address renewable energy, agriculture, hydrological infrastructure, and international cooperation. These challenges do not follow national borders, and thus their response require transnational approaches. Actively promoting multilateral cooperation in the Mediterranean and beyond, placing a strong emphasis on training and education, and tailoring programs to meet the scientific needs of vulnerable groups are essential steps. Ensuring responsible decision-making, committing to research and knowledge sharing, advocating for inclusive participation, and equitable access to opportunities lay the foundation for cooperation and scientific diplomacy. We all have to diligently work to foster connections among people and ideas, serving as a catalyst for cooperation. This is how we address science diplomacy in its three dimensions: science in diplomacy, diplomacy for science, and science for diplomacy. As a science coordinator, I coordinate the knowledge unit on water scarcity and food security at Siambari, and the master program in water and land management. And I act as an international officer, implementing research findings within cooperation projects in the Mediterranean and beyond. Over the last 20 years, I have worked intensively in collaboration with intergovernmental and international organizations, universities, research centers, ministries, extension services, women associations, water users associations, and cooperatives. I manage the Digital Agriculture Lab, and I am also an elected board member of the Arab Water Council and of its executive committee. And I'm proud to say that I was the first one to be elected and not designated. In all that I do, I remain a rural engineer. To me, agriculture is and will always be a synergy of science, technology, research, innovation, and development. Pursuing my studies during the years of war in Lebanon and later under occupation was both a profound obstacle and a burning motivation. Every challenge paled in comparison to the support and the mentors and allies who cheered me on. I strive to do the same. I'm not just an advocate, I'm committed. My journey from the Bekaa Valley to the wider world was not a simple stroll, but a fulfillment of life's purpose. And if I could make it, so can all of us. Young researchers and scholars may see these opportunities and actively contribute to the achievement of the SDGs. Our passion, curiosity, and dedication are the driving forces that will shape our future. Women scholars and scientists, we must renew our commitment every single day, despite all odds. We cannot break the chain. We must build a continuum of progress and excellence. Implementing inclusive recruitment, addressing biased evaluation methods, establishing equitable tenure and promotion processes, and strengthening accountability structures, particularly among senior leadership, are essential. These actions are key to developing a systemic approach to diversifying STEM staff and leaders. This is our credo, our path forward, and our unwavering daily commitment, and we are committed. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Roula Khadra, for your passion, first of all, and then for this insightful and inspiring speech. Your expertise and your contribution to water management and to science diplomacy are truly valuable for today's discussion. Thank you again. Now we move on to the panel discussion, where we will delve deeper into key themes surrounding women and girls in science. Now it is, of course, my pleasure to give the floor to my colleague, Anna Dorangricchia, Project Manager in the Social and Civil Affairs Divisions of the Union for the Mediterranean, in charge of gender equality, who will lead and moderate the panel discussion. Anna, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Giuseppe, and thank you to Deputy Secretary General Joan Borrell, and really thank you to Rula. Your intervention was really inspiring, and I wanted just to comment on two messages that you convey in your intervention. One is about systemic approach and accountability. These two dimensions are part of our approach when we work at the UFM level on gender equality, because you have so many dimensions interlinked when you talk about women empowerment, not only in science, but in all sectors, that sometimes the holistic approach of talking on women economic empowerment, women leadership, women in science is not enough. And the second dimension is the accountability. This is a key issue because there are so many initiatives, so many projects, good practices, but what is missing somehow is the possibility to monitor and to follow up on their sustainability. Because finally, when the project or program is ended, we don't know which kind of impact we were able to leave on the ground. So this third dimension are important for the UFM, and thank you for mentioning it. And I would like to, let's say, use the lemmas that you were mentioning, science for diplomacy, science in diplomacy, and diplomacy for science, to translate them on today's discussion when we talk about women in science, science for women, and women for science, if I can borrow your lemma. Thank you very much again. And as Giuseppe was saying, I'm very pleased and privileged today to moderate the panel discussion with our distinguished speakers. Today is a celebration day. And I'm really pleased to celebrate the day with the speakers that I'm going to present in a minute, but also to discuss about them, not only about the challenges, but about the solutions that they are already implemented from different perspectives, from academia, from research, from private sectors. And we would like to understand how to scale up and how to build on these good practices. But without further ado, I would like to introduce our first speakers for today. She has been already cooperating in different initiatives with the UFM, so thank you very much for being with us, Dr. Nawal Abdellatif Bami. She is Vice Rector for External Relations at the University Mohamed Lamine Debaghin, Sétif II, in Algeria. She is overseeing external relation, cooperation, communication, and scientific events since 2012. She has been recognized as Algeria's youngest professor in 2016. She is working on several initiatives, including artificial intelligence in education. She leads Algeria transition to University 4.0. And she also vice president of the Algerian Women Foundation, and she is focusing on education, digital transformation, artificial intelligence in learning. So thank you very much for being with us today. And you as academic leader and expert in international cooperation, you have been witnesses the challenges that young women face in pursuing STEM careers. And especially not only in Algeria, but also in other countries, thanks to your international cooperation experience. How do you think universities are adapting or can adapt their policies and strategy to overcome these challenges? The floor is yours. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Anna. Hello, everyone. Thank you also for this very important question. I think that actually across the MENA region and in Algeria more particularly, young women face multiple barriers when pursuing STEM careers in higher education. These challenges stem from both cultural and institutional factors, limiting their access, their participation, and long-term career growth. So, among the key challenges for women in STEM, we can first of all, as I said, witness cultural and societal expectations. In many cases, deeply rooted gender norms associate science and technology with men. So, this discourages young women from entering these fields. The lack of visible female role models further weakens their confidence and aspirations. A second challenge is institutional and policy gaps. So many universities lack gender sensitive policies and support systems, leading to low female enrollment and retention rates in STEM programs. Additionally to all that, we have the work place women as women for houses to take care of the kids, and this makes it harder for them to pursue long-term careers in research and academia. Now, to address these barriers, universities must adopt proactive strategies. Algeria has already implemented several successful initiatives demonstrating that targeted efforts can bridge the gender gap in STEMs. So we can speak of some of the solutions and best practices. First of all, at the level of policy reforms and institutional commitment. So governments and universities must actively promote female participation in STEM through scholarships, research grants, and leadership opportunities. We can take an example of the National Strategy of Algeria for the Promotion of Women in Science, led by the Ministry of Higher Education, which prioritizes women in STEM scholarships and research funding. This initiative has helped increase female enrollment in engineering and AI programs. A second solution could be the mentorship and role models. This is very important because mentorship programs connect young women with experienced female scientists. This gives them hope and provides them with guidance, career support, and motivation. So we can speak of the Algerian Women in Science Network. This is really a very successful network where young female students have worked with successful scientists and engineers. A great success story could be the L'Oréal UNESCO for Women in Science program, which has recognized Algerian female researchers for groundbreaking work in biotechnology and artificial intelligence. A third one is curriculum and outreach programs. So universities should launch outreach initiatives to engage girls early, introducing them to coding, robotics, and AI. And another one is industry partnerships and career support. So collaborations between universities and industries can provide internships and job opportunities for women, ensuring that they make this transition from education to employment in STEM fields. There is also an experience of the Algerian companies like Sonatrach and Algiers Polytechnic School, which have launched an internship program specifically for female STEM students. This has offered hands-on experience and career mentorship. We can also think of digitalization and flexible learning, where we can create also university digital transformation initiatives like the one on the online STEM program initiated by the ministry. And this can indeed have an impact and future outlook. Women now represent nearly 60% of university students in Algeria, one of the highest rates in the MENA region. So we can speak of female-led research in AI and engineering thanks to the National School of AI, where there are successful inclusive STEM policies. So to my point of view, by fostering inclusive policies,
We lost the connection.
Mentorship networks, and can empower young landscape. Thank you.
Thank you very much, not only for the content, but also for the perfect timing of your intervention in terms of 5 minutes. Very much appreciated. Thank you very much. I was taking some notes, and I think what you were mentioning on the possibility for girls to learn coding is the perfect transition to our next speaker, because we are talking about women and girls in science today. So, and the early approach to the empowerment of girls in STEM, in artificial intelligence and science in general, is a key step also in our strategy. Thank you very much. We will come back to what you were saying, because also the mention to the collaboration with the private sector is something that we will tackle later on today. Thank you again. And now, as I was saying, we are going to speak with our second panelist, and she will tell us during today's debate about a specific initiative on coding for girls. But first of all, let me introduce her, Mrs. Oumaya Rahimi-Roudet. She's Innovation Portfolio Manager with a specific focus on youth and gender at the UNICEF. She is the visionary behind the Game Changers Coalition, a flagship initiative designed to empower adolescent girls worldwide by building STEM skills through game development and gaming as a model of engagement. The efforts put in place through this program have fostered partnership with over 40 gaming companies, driving it through the wide awareness and action to ensure that girls and children can safely and equitably participate in the world of online play. Oumaya, thank you for being with us today, and thank you for coming back somehow to the UFM as you started your working experience as intern at the UFM. Thank you very much. From your experience at the UNICEF, what are the possible innovative strategies that have been proved being effective in breaking these cultural and societal norms, the gender norms that were mentioned also from Nuala, that discourage girls from pursuing careers in STEM? The floor is yours. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Anna. And of course, it is such an honor and a pleasure to be here with you today, given that I did start my career at the UFM as an intern, 12 or 13 years ago. So it's very emotional to be with you today and to be able to contribute my 2 cents to this very important discussion. I think the first thing that I want to acknowledge is that you have such a broad panel with lots of expertise. So as Deputy Secretary General Jean Borrell was explaining, there's a lot of call to action, right, that we need after this call. Like, people get back home and say, okay, this is concretely, we understand what we have to do to have more women and girls in science. And I know a lot of panelists will tackle the women part, but I also want to really advocate for the adolescent girl in this discussion. And Dr. Khadra said it also beautifully, right? Like, there is a moment when we have this balance between how much diplomacy do we, how much effort we put in government discussions to have this as a policy for every girl to have access to science, technology, STEAM fields, etc. And how much do we do, small projects, small initiatives, so that we can have, effective results affecting 1 girl, 2 girls, and then going to reach, millions of girls. So that's always a balance. And for UNICEF, we're trying to be on both ends, like having the programmatic impact and having also the policy influencing that we, the advocacy that we try to bring. In my little corner of the world, I'm working on innovation. So what does innovation have to do with all this once, all those great ideas, systemic thinking. Now, Noel, you mentioned also also the mentorship program. So you did it beautifully. I'm not going to go back to this discussion, but I think from an innovation point of view, there's three things that, if you want, three takeaways. The first one is, when we're talking about systemic action, yes, we understand that things have to happen in a system, but we also have this misunderstanding that young people make decisions on their own, and it's just that they don't like science, or girls specifically don't like mathematics. And those are misconceptions. Like Nawal was saying, there are lots of norms involved and societal structures, and restrictive norms that are involved. But seeing really the systemic view is identifying who are these people who are influencing an adolescent girl in the decision-making to like or not like science. And we have identified the parents. So in our programming, the innovation part is that parents are invited to see the progress of their girls, to see how they learn, to look at the final product of what they have delivered. So that really changes this behavior. So we call it behavioral insight and having this change. The second one is the teachers. Because if the teacher is not confident in teaching this material, thinking no one likes it, and I'm not going to, put all my energy into this, I'm not paid enough, I don't have enough incentive to, push this material to whomever is not interested, there is, again, a system meets a behavior. So the system puts the norm, but then you have the behavior of the person on the day-to-day pushing against that system. So from an innovation point of view, what we're trying to say is, let's work on the system, yes, by identifying the stakeholders, but let's also work on the behaviors, like what type of incentives the teachers would like, and how do we build confidence? So when we design a curriculum, we have the mathematics, coding, and all these aspects into the curriculum, but we also have modules on, self-confidence. How do you feel good about what you have created? And there's the last part. So the first one was systemic action, like identifying your stakeholders from an innovation point of view, like how do we innovate identifying these stakeholders. The second one is the behaviors, identifying the behavior of the parents, the teachers, the girls, etc. And the last one is those unusual actors and going to meet the girls where they are and what they love to do. So we found out that girls love playing video games, and it's very counterintuitive because a lot of people think only boys play video games, but actually the proportion is almost 50-50. Like it's in some part of the world it's like 43%. So it's really counterintuitive for the parents and the teachers and the communities. But if girls love playing video games, then let's meet them there. And we have designed this innovative approach that from playing video games to learning how to make video games to then finding, opportunities, job interviews, internship, and understanding of what other jobs are there where I can use my knowledge in STEAM to be able to apply this. And that's why, we use STEM a lot, like science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. But if you're bringing video games as a tool, then you're bringing the arts, the creativity, the passion, like something that really motivates the girls to stick to the program. And we will talk about this later on. I think, Nawal, you also mentioned retention rates. Like this is something that is also very important. But like the innovation in this is like, what are the other aspects that we can be pushing, like partnering with video games companies, partnering with universities, like making sure that the girls, instead of just consuming, technology, they become the producers of technology and they love it. And that's your indicator. That's your KPI. Do they love what they're doing? And so I think for me, like really from an innovation part and specifically to serve adolescent girls, and in the MENA region, I see the work of the UFM is amazing in bringing that passion. What I would love to see is how, when passion meets creativity, what are they going to create? What's the new? They are going to be the one creating innovation, and we're going to be here and listening and be like, wow, this is amazing. We're giving them the access, computers, schools, curriculum, etc. We're giving them the skills, like a good learning rooted in STEM and science. We're giving them the voice to express, what's important for them, and then, be creative. And then the only thing that we have to give them is the space, like those mentorship opportunities, those, exposure to what the technological world looks like. So then they can become like another Dr. Khadra, and then become your keynote speaker next time, and tell you about their great career, like Dr. Khawla was inspiring us to do. So yeah, but I stop here, but just wanted to give you maybe the innovative twist to the discussion. And thank you.
Thank you so much, Maya. And I say that I'm proud that the UFM helped to train so beautiful minds in his initial step. Thank you very much. I wanted just to mention two keywords that you share with us, which will help me to give the floor to the next speaker, which is women and girls should create innovation. They should not follow innovation. And also what Rula was saying at the beginning is not a matter of being there to make advocacy or to witness the innovation, is to drive the innovation, and to drive the innovation, you must be part of this creative process. So thank you very much for this. And the second element is role model. And this is absolutely fundamental in also the UFM approach when we talk about the intergenerational dialogue. Because as you say, women, but also youth, young girls can play a key role in this positive transition. And talking about role models, I would like now to introduce our next speaker. I'm very happy to have her here because I think it's the first time that we are together in a webinar. We have been collaborating in different ways. So thank you very much, Alicia Perez-Porro. She Head of Policy Engagement and Institutional Relations at CREA, which is based in Barcelona, is a public scientific research institute and which is focused on terrestrial ecology and biodiversity, among a lot of other thematic areas. Alicia is a marine biologist by training and an environmental activist by heart. She also mother of two children, as she likes to say in her bio, and she works on connecting science, diplomacy, and policy for a more sustainable future. Last year, she was also selected by the European Commission as one of the experts of the EU Science Diplomacy Working Group to work on the new European framework for science diplomacy. So congratulations already for this. Alicia, as I say, you work on this nexus, science and diplomacy. How do you think science communication can be shaped to incorporate a more gender sensitive and responsive approach? Thank you very much. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Anna, and thank you, Giuseppe, and thank you to the UFM for inviting me to this very necessary webinar. Yes, indeed, I'd like to highlight that I have two kids because I think that science in our careers, that they doesn't happen in a vacuum, right? We have lives, and speaking about being a role model, we need to give that image that we are not just our profession. We are way more than our profession, and we have partners, we have kids, we have dogs, we have lives, and this is important to highlight. I want to say something before answering your question about what Umaya was saying, because I thought that it was really interesting, the thing about video games and how it's counterintuitive that girls like to play video games, and that's the link to create video games. As part of the International Day of Women and Girls in Science, my institution this year launched a video game that you play that highlights the barriers that we need to overcome to have a career in science with the perspective of intersectionality. I will put the link of this video game that is launched today on the chat so everybody can access it, because I think that is a really good tool for people to play and understand what we are talking about on a day like today, right? So answering your question about women in communication and like this gender perspective from communication, I think that communication is key in the world that we are living right now. And we really need to have this gender perspective to be able to highlight the importance of women and girls in science. I think that the more important thing is to have more women involved in communication topics. But this is kind of the obvious. The other thing that we need to have is more women as experts. So a lot of studies highlight that usually more male than women are invited to speak as experts in webinars, but also to the press. When press needs a reference of a voice of an expert, usually they call men, because men are more likely to answer saying, yes, I will give you a reference, or yes, I will speak to you. And women don't do that often. Also, it's not that easy to find women experts in certain topics, not because they don't exist, but because maybe they are always constantly calling the men and not the women, so they are less visible. So for that, there's different projects that we are involved in them. One of them is called Esfera Climática, which we are giving training to women to become experts and a spokesperson for media to talk about climate change specifically. The other one is the Science Media Center in Spain. They also have a gigantic database of experts related with scientific topics, but they have this, they do this effort to every time that they need experts, they try to find 50-50. So they have balanced answers. And this is important to highlight that it's not entirely the responsibility of women to be visible, of women to communicate, that this is also the responsibility of the other people that are in front of us, right? In this case, I'm talking about media, to understand that when they need experts, they also need to find women experts. And sometimes it's an effort. It's not that easy. So it might be annoying, but like that doesn't mean that you don't have to do it. You really need to put the effort to find them. There's been a study recently run by the Science Media Center in Spain. I will also put the link in the chat because I thought that it was really interesting. So visibility comes with a price for women. It's not the same to go on social media or to go on the press as a woman than as a man. So we suffer some consequences, some negative consequences. We can be even penalized, but not only by like random people, also by our peers, that they might see us as not experts enough to be answering certain questions, for instance. So I thought that this study was really interesting because it was highlighting these barriers that we encounter when we become visible and when we become spokespersons. So I think that when we consider women as experts and when we put the focus on women, we also need to understand that some people might say no because they don't want to go through the pain that is all of these consequences. And the most important thing for me is women in leadership, because not every change comes bottom up. There's a lot of changes that need to come top down. And if we don't have women in leadership positions, making the decisions, trying to change the narrative, is going to be very slow and very difficult to really see a significant change. We really need, I'm going to give you an example, for instance. The Ministry of Science in Spain every year gives prizes to researchers. Usually, as you can imagine, usually the prizes go to men. And it's been very anecdotally that women receive these prizes, right? So last year, they decided to do something very innovative, which was, instead of asking the institutions to give one nominee by institution, we are going to ask them to give us 2 nominees by institution, but with the condition that they need to be gender balanced. If you're nominating a man, you also need to nominate a woman. Surprise, surprise, this year we have a lot of women that won the research award. What this is showing us is not that women doesn't deserve the prize, is that women, they were not even visible. So when we are visible, they recognize the value that we add, and then we get the prize. But this change didn't come bottom up. It came top down because it was the Ministry of Science of Spain that changed the rules. So I think that this is very important, to force the leadership to change the rules. And the best way to do it is by having women in leadership positions that can bring this gender perspective to force these changes. So overall, my little package comes with a bow, which is basically visibility and a system to support us, because we really need a system that is going to hold us when we go through some issues, that is going to help us to make our path easier, and that is going to give us this visibility that might not come on a natural way for some of us, but definitely we all need.
Thank you very much, Alicia. It's always a pleasure to listen to you, but thank you very much, because you mentioned a couple of things that resonate a lot with what the UFM we are planning this year. One is, you were mentioning the database of scientists. Now, we are going to launch a community of practice on the nexus gender, environment, and climate change. And one of the objectives of this community of practice is exactly this one, to share database of women experts in environment and climate. So happy to know and to discover there is already this big database, and that can be also an helpful tool in this sense. Second thing is what you were mentioning about media. We fully agree that this is a crucial step for us. This is why we are going to launch this year the Mediterranean Women Journalists Network. And one of the topics of this network will be to provide women journalists, and hopefully also male colleagues in the future, about what does it mean women in innovation. And one of the main activities that we are going to put in place is a press trip in the framework of a conference on artificial intelligence that we are going to organize in June, and in the framework of an award ceremony for women innovators in artificial intelligence. We will have different categories of prize, one related to green, one related to social impact, another one related to technology. So all of this is to bring up the visibility, as you were saying. So thank you very much for this. And now, talking about women innovators in technology and in artificial intelligence, I'm really pleased and privileged to have our next panelist with us, because she will bring on board the perspective of what happens once we have educated women in technology, in artificial intelligence, when they need to go to the labor market and to the private sector world, which is one of the main challenges, especially for the MENA region. Because Dr. Abdellatif, she was mentioning about the fact that 60% of women in Algeria are in STEM. And we can mention similar, let's say, percentage in Tunisia or in Jordan. What is missing is the link to the private sector and to the labor market. And this is where our next speaker is going to bring her experience and expertise. I'm really privileged to introduce to you Mrs. Ayumi Moore Aoki. She's founder and CEO of Women in Tech Global and member of the International Consultative Group of Experts for Closing the Gender Gap in Science at UNESCO. With a presence in over 50 countries and a community of more than 200 million of women and girls in STEM by 2030, through the initiative in education, business, digital inclusion, and advocacy. Ayumi's leadership also driven another pillar, which is focused on Tech Diplomacy Forum, which fosters collaboration between diplomats, tech leaders, and policymakers. So we are not talking only about science diplomacy, but also tech diplomacy. Ayumi, thank you very much for being with us. And as founder of Women in Tech, what do you think are the most significant challenges that women leaders in tech, which unfortunately in the world are not so many yet, and how can the organization and the partnership among organizations can support? The floor is yours. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Anna. Thank you so much. What a lovely introduction. And I must say that I'm very excited and honored to be here with you all for this very special day. So it's the 10th anniversary of the Women and Girls in Science. So being able to do it all together, it warms at my heart. I listened to every single speaker, and I couldn't agree more with each one of them. You know, Umaima, who was talking about creativity and getting the girls to get excited and build things. I know that I came into tech because of that. You know, I started with fine arts, and because I wanted to create my own world, like my own websites and bring my art into the screen, this is how I came into technology. So I completely I was very touched by that. Alicia talking about having more women visible on media and how important it is, right? We know that media, they shape not only the way society sees women and girls, but also how girls see themselves. You know, how do they see if they are capable or not, or going into technology? And this really sets the base for your entire career. Right? So because we have scarcity in female leadership today, maybe we only represent about 25% of positions in technology. But this doesn't come just, okay, we don't have enough people in the leadership position. It comes from the pipeline, from the workforce, from the beginning, right? So if you don't have a big pipeline of students that coming up, as they grow into the journey, into the professional journey, it becomes thinner and thinner and thinner. But you did explain, and this is so true, that in the Middle East countries, MENA region, we don't have that problem. So we have the pipeline. We even have too many students, too many female students coming into this into STEM areas, but then they don't go to the workforce. And at the end of the day, we have the same problem. We want women building the apps in the workforce and leading this digital transition, because also those are the best paid jobs. And what do we want? We want women to be able to be financially independent. But how do we achieve that? What are the main challenges? So many challenges goes from the scarcity of role models, as you've all said, about the mentoring, about the narrow pipeline. But I think we also can say motherhood when you're talking about leadership. Because whether we want it or not, and I think it's a blessing to be able to give life. I've given life 4 times, and I'm a mother of 4. But the first 2 times that I gave birth, I was in the corporate world. And I remember very, very clearly the second time I was pregnant, I went to my new boss and I said, I've got bad news to tell you, which broke my heart. How can you say, no, for good news, you have to say, well, I've got bad news. I am pregnant. And he looked at me, he says, and I could see he tried to say, oh, well, congratulations, but he was very sad, because he says, he said, how am I going to be able to, cover when her absence and everything and coming back? And I felt I had to come back very quickly. And I was also personally very scared of having someone take my place while I was not there. I was very young and say, okay, well, if she's taking my leadership position, maybe I will not have a position when I'm back. But this is something you cannot think like that, because it's so important to be able to try and bring together your work life, have a work-life balance, bring your family life, if this is important to you, right? You don't have to have it. But if it's important to you, there is always a way to combine. You don't have to choose between one and another, because afterwards, once you're older in life, you realize that those are with precious moments that you could have. But what can companies do and organizations do? Because this is across sectors. I think there's a real structural and cultural problem that we can have, like these stereotypes and biases that they can find in the STEM, especially in the STEM ecosystem culture. And I think for us to fight it, to be the organizations, the institutions, they have to be very they're intentional, right? They can't just do it because it's going to be a hype, especially because if it's not intentional, if it's not engraved in the DNA, if they don't really believe it, it will not work. And as soon as it comes one law, like we're seeing right now around the world, you know, in the US, they say, oh, no, diversity is no longer a hype. Then they're the first ones to put it out because it, you know, it drives them, you know, they think it's okay. However, there is empirical data, you know, there have been research and it is shown that not only for ethical reasons, which I find it, you know, the best is ethical reasons, but also economical reasons. It shows how diverse teams, women and people from different ethnic backgrounds, they bring more, not only more results, right? So people perform better. You can think of they produce new things, new products that are going to be benefiting society. And we know how companies and women entrepreneurs, they mostly focus on social impact as well. So you can see there's ripple effects across every single way. So I think being more intentional and making real commitments. And this is why with Women in Tech, so this organization, as you said, that I founded 7 years ago and leading, I was always wondering, how can we really make things change? And talking about it is great, but it's not enough. How do we walk the talk? And making small changes, impact is also great. But for it to be real change and sustainable change, there has to be, I think, a higher commitment on a policy level, on a global level, where people really take actions and make real commitments. So this is why in April, and I invite you all to come take part of it, especially you, Anna, to come to Osaka, where we're going to be hosting our Women in Tech Global Summit, the 4th edition, during Expo. And one of the things we are doing, we're going to be signing the Osaka Protocol, which is basically a framework, which is for all organizations, whether public, private, governments, where they're going to say, okay, the main framework is to have gender equality for digital societies, focusing on 4 pillars: education, digital inclusion, the entrepreneurship, and also ethical development of new technologies. And they're going to be able to commit to what they can. So what can you commit to? I can commit to, so I want figures, right? So I want to commit to scaling 1 million women, 1 woman, 1,000 women, doesn't matter. You can all commit to doing something. The moment you commit, you're intentional about it, this is what things start changing. And start with us. We always say, oh, what can governments do? What can they do? What can they start doing? What can you do? Right? What can I do? So I think this is a commitment that people can sign the charter, adhere to the protocol, which is going to be flexible enough so people can, you know, can join, but bold enough so they can be a real result. So this is what we are working on, and I would love to have UFM and obviously Anna take part of it. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ayumi. I'm happy to discuss about our involvement. And indeed, we are trying to push the UFM to become itself, let's say, global signatories of different initiatives. The next one will be one specifically on finance for women entrepreneurs. But as we are working also on STEM and technology, artificial intelligence, we will be happy to explore this opportunity. Now, thank you very much. I will go back to Dr. Abdellatif because she was mentioning at the beginning that you have been working on digitalizing the education. And I know that you have been working specifically on this transformation and on the use of artificial intelligence on this. And the UFM as sorry, Ayumi, can you mute yourself? Okay, can we mute Ayumi? Just if we can mute Ayumi, because otherwise it will be complicated. Okay, let's try. So I wanted to ask you if there is any specific example on how artificial intelligence can support, let's say, a gender-sensitive approach in the digital transition of the education. And just to mention that the UFM had just published a report on how to digitalize the higher education institutes. Nawal, the floor is yours. Thank you.
Thank you. Definitely, Anna. Actually, this is really a very important question. We can just come back to the challenges that I have just mentioned and link these to how artificial intelligence can come up to find some solutions. So across the Mediterranean, as we have just said, women in STEM face persistent barriers. We can speak of limited access to mentorship, as I just said, career guidance and research opportunities. So if we look at these, AI can transform these landscapes by expanding access, by personalizing education, and also by driving inclusive policies for mentorship. So maybe I can speak today and highlight 5 main areas where AI is making a real impact. Some of them have already been experienced at an Algerian setting. And this could be, first of all, AI for personal learning and accessibility. So one of the major challenges that I have just spoken about is access to high quality education tailored to the needs of women in STEM. Here we can say that AI-powered platforms can adapt coursework. This could be on based student strengths and weaknesses, ensuring that learning is more effective and inclusive according to the needs of those students. So one of the main examples that we have been witnessing and experiencing in Algeria has the integration of AI-driven learning tools in the Moodle and edX platforms at the universities. These systems have tried to adjust assignments based on students' performance. And this has offered personalized tutoring in subjects like mathematics, engineering, and coding. And this also has helped in ensuring that even young women in remote areas receive the support they need to succeed, even if they are not at the university. A second solution could be AI-powered mentorship and networking. And this is, again, in replace or in response to the mentorship challenge. So mentorship, as we said, and as Umayma said, is really crucial for success in STEM. But geographical and institutional barriers also often prevent young women from accessing role models and industry experts, especially that there is indeed a problem also with industry. So AI can bridge this gap by automating mentorship matching and fostering virtual networking opportunities. And this could also work very well because we have tried an AI-driven mentorship platform to connect female students with scientists, engineers, and industry leaders online. This platform ensures that women in STEM, no matter where they are, have access to guidance and career building opportunities. We can also propose AI for career guidance and skill development in really the same frame of what I have just said. And we have really done this at the level of the University of Algiers 1 and USTHB, where we have created in the incubator job matching platforms, which link female STEM graduates with companies looking for skilled professionals. Well, we have done it for all students, but we can do it for female STEM graduates with companies looking for skilled professionals. This also will ensure that women entrepreneurs in STEM receive funding and support. There is also another one, which is AI for inclusive STEM policies and bias reduction. And this is AI will not just shape education and careers, but it will also help universities track gender disparities and drive policy reform. And this is really at a governance level. This could be done by analyzing enrollment trends, research funding, and hiring data. And here again, AI identifies biases and promotes gender equality. And here there is really an example from the Ministry of Higher Education, where we are using analytics to assess gender trends in STEM programs inside the transition to University 4.0. And finally, there is also AI for research and innovation. Since we have just spoken about innovation in women-led STEM projects, I think that AI can also empower women researchers by stimulating data analysis, automating literature reviews, and supporting collaborative STEM projects. I can say as a conclusion that AI can truly empower women, but it must be developed with gender inclusivity in mind. So this means what? This means that we need to ensure that AI algorithms do not reinforce biases, but that women play a leading role in AI development and governance. So as we move towards a more AI-driven future now, we can continue investing in these technologies that empower women, eliminate systemic barriers, and foster a diverse STEM community. And this could be done with UFM as a leader in order to ensure that the next generation of female scientists, engineers, and AI experts can really fully equip women to lead and innovate, not just in Algeria, of course, but across all the Mediterranean region and beyond. So thank you.
Thank you so much, because you gave us a concrete example. What do we mean by systemic approach? All the levels that you have mentioned about personal skills, about mentorship, about career guidance, about policies, about data and bias. This is where we should all together work. And you know that the UFM, both from the gender dossier and the research education dossier, are fully committed to this. So happy to keep our collaboration going on. Thank you very much. And I will now turn to Umaya, because she was mentioning this incredible program for reaching, I don't remember exactly how many millions of girls in the world, and how we can promote this also in the MENA region. Umaya, can you share with us some key figures and key result impact about this game changer, let's say, if I can call it, in terms of initiative for girls in coding, specifically applied on video games? Thank you very much. The floor is yours.
Absolutely, Anna. Thank you so much. So it is a very important question. Like, how do we assess the success of a program? When you start a program, we started 2 years ago, and it's like when you're in the private sector and you invent laundry soap. Like, you want to try with focus groups and you're like, okay, does it smell good? Does it look good? And do people use it? And does it work, right? Like, is it really cleaning the clothes? So at the United Nations, we have something quite similar. Does it smell good? Does it look good? But those are the KPIs that we're trying to put in the program. And to identify those measurements to see if it's successful or not, we do it in consultation with young people. And I think that's the part that is really transformative and that I love the most, is that we let the adolescent girls tell us if it's working. And then we measure. So Alicia was giving this great example of, like, once they have the visibility, then they can excel, right? It's so impressive what, that seeing the rates that have changed just because you give visibility. So we do study, so the program is called Game Changers Coalition. It's based on UNICEF experience with Skills for Girls. We know that in the world there's 600 million adolescent girls, so we're not reaching all of them just yet, but we have the ambition to reach as many as we can. Game Changers Coalition has reached 1 million girls so far. 1.2, but programmatically, and that's why I want to really emphasize that you can reach them with a lot of actions and advocacy. That's what we do, but programmatically we have reached 153,000 individuals. And this number for me is more important than talking the millions, because this 154,000, it's really the one that you have invested your resources. The girls have gone through 100 hours of curriculum. They have the skills, and they have created 3,000 video games. So then the one thing that was not in our KPIs to measure success was the content of these games. You would be so surprised that the program spans in Cambodia, Armenia, Brazil, Kazakhstan, India, South Africa, Morocco. So we have countries from a lot of different regions in the world. But the topics of these video games are all about empowerment, mental health, fear of depression, fear of missing out, fear of growing old, pressure from the parents, recreating the history of their own country. What if it was a woman who was in charge 200 years ago? And the girls don't know each other, and they don't speak the same language, but they're capable of building with the coding skills and the mathematics skills that they have acquired in a 100-hour span. Like, they are capable of creating those games and then telling a story that has their own voice. So to measure that as a success, like those 3,000 video games, for us, this is really a successful, and surprising outcome of this program. Like, we wanted them to get the skills, but they brought us the creativity and the stories and all their imagination into making those skills into a product. So then you need to partner, because UNICEF has put a lot of investment in this. So we started by putting $1.2 million into the pilot. But for this pilot to be, scaled, we needed to have government ownership. So all these 7 countries who have vouched that they want to continue Game Changers Coalition and make it part of their curriculum progressively or radically. Like you have the government of Morocco, the Ministry of Youth, who now wants to explore Game Changers Coalition in 1,500 centers. So that's a huge investment. You have the government of Cambodia, who have put the curriculum available for 93,000 teachers. So that's also, how do we get the teachers the credentials so that they can teach the curriculum? That's a huge investment for Cambodia. You have the government of Brazil, who have said, okay, we're going to do region by region inside of Brazil and then start with Sao Paulo. So every adolescent girl in Sao Paulo can have access to this. So they're trying, like different approaches. One that is very, that's linked to what Ayumi was saying, the learning to earning. I think Armenia is a very good example of this, because they were saying, we will hire the girls who graduate from Game Changers Coalition to run innovation centers and teach other girls. So it's really like a model of feeding, more learning into more earning. And those girls are now running innovation centers at the community level where they can teach what they have learned. And I think this is brilliant, right? But then, as the world is evolving, you need more funding and more partnership and more job opportunities. As you were saying, skills is very good, but you also need to find a job. And so we have this very lucky partnership that we were able to build with the Global Video Game Coalition, composed of Sony Entertainment, Microsoft, Ubisoft, Electronic Arts, and Roblox, among others. And those big companies, they really take this topic seriously of having more women within their workforce, and they know that it starts with adolescent girls. So that's why they're investing in this program, and that's why we're having this big visibility thanks to them. But also what they're gaining is, as Dr. Abdelatif was saying, this mentorship aspect of like the girls get to see, what does it look like? Did you know there's 100 different jobs at least in the video games industry? So it's not just, a coder. You can be 100 different spin of it, You can be designer, you can code for the background. I found that you can code for the rain. Like it could be your whole job is to code for the rain that comes in a video game when the weather is changing. So we'd have no idea about this. And how do you turn those skills and say, well, okay, I've went through the 100 hours of curriculum, but I don't really want to be building video games. That happens. A lot of the girls in the program decided they wanted to become math teachers. Like they find out that they love math. And you're like, what? We thought, it's just so surprising. But there's this pedagogical aspect of you want to reinforce them to be confident. And what they love the most is to build that confidence in other girls. And it's amazing because it's a new culture of giving, like they have it in them. What they love the most is to give that knowledge to someone else. So it's mind blowing what they could do. But in terms of how successful the program could be, and I think it's really having this group around the table that you put together, because you and UFM, you do have this convening power. Like you put us from our desk and then you ask us the questions, the hard questions of is all this working? And I think yes, it's working because we connect with each other, because we realize, yes, a mentorship program is good, but really what you need is a mentorship program that, from what we've studied, that has 4 years apart. Like if I'm 14, I don't really relate to a CEO of a company that is 60 years old. So what we're trying to do is like, oh, you're 14, so let's connect you with someone who's graduating high school, someone who's 18, 4 years, ahead of you, so you can picture, in 4 years, I want to be this. And then if you're 18, like, let's connect you with someone who's 22 and it's someone who has their first job and stressful, and then they're trying to make an impact, and so on and so forth. So having this 4-year mentorship sequence will really help to put images into those big words, like you're going to have a career in tech, but those are the steps. It's not just happening overnight. Like so many people around the table are saying, it took a lot of time. I appreciate, Alicia, you were saying you also want to have a family, you also want to have a dog. Like you have those different things that all these girls in the program, they do tell us that they want to participate to their community. One of the video games is about harvesting crops. Like one girl was saying, like, how am I helping my parents to, harvest the best crops? And she designed the whole game about, agriculture, which again is surprising if you don't come from that village where it's very important. in Kazakhstan, you have this game where, and I will stop here. I know I talked a lot, but just, I can talk about 3,000 games. So please, just give me more time. But the Kazakhstan game was really, really nice. It's about launching nanosatellites into space. But the airspace is crowded physically. So the government of Kazakhstan is thinking this seriously of saying, well, maybe the boys and girls can learn through this game, which is called Unisat, and avoid crowding the space, the airspace, and then using the video games that the girls have created as a way to teach boys and girls of how to build this technology. So I think the ocean of possibilities is immense, but what we really need is partners to come together, and that's why it's a coalition, right? Like there is a sense of commitment, of accountability, of like being together and committing over the long run, that this is an important subject that we want to pursue. And stop here, but thank you so much for having this discussion.
Sorry, thank you to you for your question again, but also because you mentioned a couple of things that, again, I think will resonate with what I'm going to ask also to Alicia, because I think this mention that you gave about the fact that maybe we have a misunderstanding or misinterpretation about what is an intergenerational dialogue, which generally we consider, okay, young people, young women at their 20s, and they speak with people over 50. And we have a missing middle somehow, which is, okay, we need to speak a similar language. Most likely, the people that have just 5 or 10 years can support better because they can understand better. And in a very, very fast evolving world like the one we are living, where technology, artificial intelligence will be more and more present, I think this connection is fundamental. And this is why I'm going to ask to Alicia, because you mentioned it, not only role models, but also this connection and to give visibility. And this intergenerational dialogue that we were mentioning, because especially in science communication, in science diplomacy, you have been working on biodiversity. You have been there to advocate when we talk about the COP meeting on climate change and so on. How we can be sure that this intergenerational dialogue is effective when we speak more specifically about science? The floor is yours. Thank you, Alicia.
Thank you, Anna. This is a very tricky question because it's one thing that I don't think that we have solved. You can see, so as you mentioned, I work with climate change, with biodiversity. So I go to all of these multilateral conferences about these topics, the COPs, and what we see in those multilateral meetings is a lot of old men, right? I don't know how to say this in a politically correct way, but but basically it's
you don't need to be politically correct, so go ahead.
So you see a lot of like, it's basically men, it's men that are like yes, old men, and you don't see a lot of young people. You don't see a lot of, you don't even, this comes as a shock, but you don't see kids. And, like it's very important to involve people from all the generations, but especially the youngest generations. If we are talking, for instance, about climate change, biodiversity, plastic pollution, everything that is related with the future of the planet, because kids and young people are the future of the planet. And we cannot be making decisions for them without including them in the conversation. And when you put this, like the UN is making this effort to have young people present, not only more women or more diversity, it's also about young people. But you see this clash of languages because it's a very different understanding of the world. The young people from maybe, the 60-something politician. And I think that I always come back to training, because I do think that training doesn't give you necessarily all the tools that you need to overcome all of these barriers, but it gives you awareness. And I think that awareness is very important. I think that we are very focused on tools that we can use to perform, to be more efficient. And I don't think that we are working enough, that our education system gives you enough of what they wrongly call soft tools, right? And I don't know why they call them soft, because I don't think that they're soft. They are the hardest to learn and to implement. But to be able to talk to people from other cultures, to be able to talk to people from other social backgrounds, to be able to talk to people that live in a completely different reality than yours, that from a different generation. These are the tools that we should be giving, not only to young people, also to everyone that is willing to intervene in changing the world for a better place. I think that trying to, and as soon as you have this awareness, I think that it's easier to, you may make mistakes. I make mistakes all the time, but like if you are aware, you can learn from your mistakes. And we did a campaign at CREAF a couple of years ago, and it was also a February 11th campaign, and we were calling it like, put your purple glasses, right? And it's yeah, put on your glasses to see the world through different lenses. And from that experience, you are going to be able to relate to different realities, and you're going to adjust the way that you're communicating so you can get to people that usually you're not getting. It's really tricky. It's really it's difficult. But as my kids would say, it's difficult. But but I think that it is something that we need to be working on to raise this awareness. So keyword awareness to be able to change.
Thank you very much, Alicia, and I love the language of your kids. They are inventing, they are creative. Thank you very much. As we are running our keyword difficult, I see Humana commenting. This is fantastic. Thank you very much. We are running out of time, but there were so many relevant discussions, and I see there are a lot of questions in the chat. I'm afraid we will not be able to answer to all of them, but we have taken note, and maybe we will back to you via email to answer to your question. But in any case, thank you for sharing also your profile and question in the chat. I don't know if Ayumi is still with us. Yes, thank you. Thank you, Ayumi, because I didn't see in the screen, sorry. Thank you very much. I would like to ask you to be very brief so we can catch up, also to leave the floor to Antonella for her closing remarks. Ayumi, you have already mentioned what the organization can do in order to support this, let's say, transition from education to economic, let's say, world, meaning labor market, also entrepreneurship. But I wanted to ask you, in this case, and based on the experience that you have through the Women in Tech Global Forum, how do you think that women as innovators can contribute to boost a sustainable economic growth in the world, and more specifically in the MENA region? Thank you. If you can keep it in 2 minutes, it would be great.
Sure, I'm going to keep it very quick, Anna. So obviously, I think women entrepreneurship is super important, right? Because I think women, the more businesses they make, they can add up to 47% to the GDP in the next decade in the MENA Mediterranean region. And so how can women become more entrepreneurs? I think leveraging what AI tools have today. It's so much easier to become an entrepreneur, right? If you in such a cheaper rate as well, you don't have to invest so much money. They can make, if they want to go up to the market and make a website, they've already get that with AI tools. They can have assistants. They can try videos. So I think there's so many tools right now that can help you, even helping you with business plans, to make put a product out to market very quickly, to try it out. I think women, they want everything perfect right away, so they tend to struggle to get out their ideas out to the market and see if it works. So I think they can be more adventurous leveraging these AI tools, try it out without having to invest a lot of time and a lot of money. And if it does come out, then maybe they're seeds of new entrepreneurs that are coming out. And obviously they're going to be making, foster the economic life of the entire region. But I think use the AI tools to launch yourself to become entrepreneurs, once again, making it quick, fast, and a cheap way. That's my 2 cents for now.
Thank you very much, and always relevant. Thank you very much. And hopefully this will be just the starting point of a long-lasting cooperation with the UFM to promote this kind of boost for innovation with the women as key actors. Thank you very much again. And I know that you have another event today with UNESCO to celebrate the International Women's Day this afternoon.
So I have to say goodbye now.
Exactly, I know. Thank you very much.
Thank you, ladies.
Thank you. Bye. Antonella.
Yes. Thank you very much. I will also be quite short in my closing remark and providing some inputs also from the PRIMA program, which is, for those who don't know, as a partnership for research and innovation in the Mediterranean area, so addressing innovation aspects. And so I would like to thank the panelists and participants. Indeed, I saw a lot of interaction in the chat and was really engaging in insightful discussion. And also a special thank to the UFM Deputy Secretary General John Borrell and Anna Doranica for this, and Giuseppe for organizing this important conversation today. That's in the celebration of women and girls in STEM. I'm really honored to be part of this discussion, which is very close to my heart. I am mother also of 2 kids, and I am researchers in my past experience at university. So I'm really part of the game, and now I'm program manager in the partnership. So I'm pushing so hard. I'm really very committed with all the PRIMA team to foster gender inclusion in research and innovation, and we do this through research and innovation in our calls, and I'll tell you later, in inclusion in our calls, and fostering and engaging equality and gender dimension in the projects from the planning phase. So today discussion has highlighted both the progress made in gender equality in STEM and challenge that remain a lot. But while women in Mediterranean represent a significant share of STEM graduates, their leadership and in innovation and entrepreneurship remain very low. So these are the challenge. And we have to fight against this with how we can to succeed. And these barriers, in fact, are systemic. But today we have explored some solution, such as mentorship, targeted funding, gender-responsive policies that can indeed help to drive a real change in the future. So to be optimistic on how we can address this in the future and make really a change. Beginning with Rula Kadra's inspiring keynote speech, we have heard a powerful insight from our panelists. Again, from Nawal Abdelrahmani addressed the structural barriers limiting young women in STEM, and in particular in Algeria. She emphasized important and adapting university policies and networking to support women careers. As Ms. Umama Remy Rodet has highlighted the role of a digital learning environment and initiative like Game Changers Coalition and breaking societal norms and encouraging young girls to engage with STEM. As well, Ms. Alicia Perez Porras raised the importance of science diplomacy and gender-sensitive communication, reinforcing the need for visibility and mentorship to support women in STEM. And Ms. Ayumi Moore provided a global perspective on gender and technology digitalization, which is also the future now with the AI, which is enforcing so more. So a key takeaway from today's discussion is really the power of collaboration with academia, policymakers, and the private sector, with research and innovation organization, international organization that must work together to create the environment where women and girls are not just included, but they are really empowered, and a change can be done. Or now related to PRIMA and PRIMA commitment to gender equality, to bring a little of my contribution. I would like to highlight our commitment in gender equality through our efforts across our calls. We are launching calls for proposal for research and innovation each year. We have worked to ensure the gender equality, and now it's become a requirement for our course to embed gender dimension. So it's not anymore a suggestion, but it's a requirement. So I hope this will be to make a change also in this sense. I'm very pleased also and honored to share about from our an initiative, which is the award, the Prima Women Greening Food System Award, that this year we had the first edition, let's say. We have already awarded to four outstanding contribution from women in advancing sustainable food systems in the Mediterranean. Marta Cortegano, Toraya Saeda, Fani Hatina, and Yosra Ahmed Sultan, with 4 remarkable projects that has been awarded with a monetary prize. It's not a lot, but it's still a contribution, it's an award, it's something as a recognition from our side to show remarkable work from women. And those projects, in fact, highlight the critical role of women in shaping a more sustainable future consumption and production in the Mediterranean. We trust and believe that the women contribution in that is very critical and important and cannot be overlooked. So for this reason, we are really stressing this contribution while celebrating the achievement of this remarkable woman. I'm pleased also to announce that we are launching this initiative again for this year in our calls. Our calls are about to be launched. And so it will be another opportunity to recognize again the remarkable work of women. In the International Day of Women and Girls in Science, so we celebrate the contribution of women in STEM, but we recognize that challenges remain. So we must continue to break down barriers, mentor future leaders, empower next generation of women in science and girls, because the future is also in the young girls, and that's I'm very pleased that today is a day for celebrating. We hope this not only today, but is an endeavor for each of the day, and to push forward for a more inclusive future in the Mediterranean, but in general. So thank you very much for the organization again of this very insightful discussion, and I pass the floor to Anna.
Thank you very much, Antonella. I'm sorry, in the rush, I forgot to introduce you properly to our attendees. You are the program coordinator of PRIMA program, which is the first Euro-Mediterranean research innovation program focusing on farming, agro-food value chain, water and welfare nexus. And you have been pushing so much on introducing the gender-sensitive approach in all the programming work of Prima. So thank you for this. And you have been developing a specific initiative also in cooperation with the Union for the Mediterranean. And happy to hear that the second edition award will be there. But as you say, the way to support the winner is just not in terms of financial grant, in terms of networking, mentorship, and the UFM will be happy to cooperate on this, of course, this year and the next year for sure. Thank you very much. And I wanted to ask you to my colleague Giuseppe, because I speak a lot, I'm sorry, but he was monitoring the question raised by the participant in the chat. Maybe there are a few on which we can answer or ask to our speaker to answer. The floor is yours. Thank you, Giuseppe.
Thank you, Anna. Well, actually, I've seen that there is a lot of movement in the question and answer, lots of colleagues are commenting, which show that the topic is important to the Mediterranean community of researchers, which is quite encouraging. Perhaps some couple of questions that are a bit more general and can be answered by our speakers is that I'm seeing that some are asking how can we overcome the condition in our culture that is sometimes against the continuity of women to achieve our goals and self-realization. Somebody else is asking that there are two issues concerning women in science, the entry level and the career path. These may differ in Mediterranean country. Can our guests comment on this? Some others are asking more about the program mentioned by Dr. Rahimi, which has raised a lot of interest. Some have commented on the importance of networking as one of the way of encouraging and pushing, especially girls or young professionals, by showing that there is other people that have gone through the same career. And finally, a more specific question, perhaps more for Professor Abdellatif, which is concerning the ability of connecting women in academia and the industry, which where we see that there is a gap between how many girls study the STEM career, but when it comes to applying and working this career, this number dropped dramatically. So in short, this is what I think are the most relevant points raised. Thank you.
Yes, Dr. Abdellatif, maybe you can answer from the higher education perspective on the question.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, of course. First of all, I thank all the persons who have asked questions and are really interested. Indeed, I think from an Algerian context, definitely there are a lot of challenges, as I have just explained, linked to, first of all, cultural challenges and then also institutional challenges. I think we need, first of all, to recognize that the gap between academia and industry is a major issue that affects STEM graduates, particularly women. And the reasons, I think, first of all, we have limited job opportunities in STEM fields, both for girls and boys, but mainly for girls. There is also something very particular to our culture, which is workplace gender biases, because most of them believe their men will excel better than women. And definitely we have societal and family expectations regarding work-life balance. To that latter, I think that we need to work to this challenge from childhood, how to raise our kids, how, as Umayma, Alicia have explained, we need to let girls express themselves. If they love gaming, let's help them through that. We need definitely to let them decide. And this definitely challenge can be overcome through education from very early childhood. Then we need to, of course, propose concrete solutions like strengthening university-industry collaboration. From a higher education perspective, I think we need to increase industry partnerships with universities for internships, for apprenticeship, and of course, for joint research programs where we can also integrate industry. We need also to encourage family internships in entrepreneurship in STEM. This could easily be done through all these interfaces like incubators, employability centers, etc. And definitely we need to raise awareness and mentorship programs instantly face-to-face or using AI, and work on policy and institutional support. This could be done through proposing workforce flexibility and anti-discrimination policies in STEM industry. So I think these are some of the main challenges and solutions that we can propose in order to increase the role of women in STEM.
Thank you very much, Nawal. I think you provided a quite comprehensive answer on this. And just to mention from our side that I know that this topic is very relevant for Algeria, not only from an education point of view, but I know that you have the full support of the Ministry for Startup. And Algeria has hosted a huge event which is called GTEC and GTEx in December, and this is very good experience how all the government level are working on, let's say, this systemic approach, bringing to the business development, entrepreneurship, but also from education point of view and innovation. So congratulations to Algeria for these very good practices. There was a second question that I know if maybe Antonella or Alicia can answer to this about this different maybe in the Med countries about the presence of women in career and entry level at the educational or research innovation programs. Also, Alicia, I think it's important maybe to explain a little bit where we are.
Thank you, Anna. So I am in Barcelona, in Spain, and I think that one of the things that I really like about the Mediterranean is that we come from very different backgrounds and cultural experiences, but at the same time we have common places of understanding. And I always highlight the Mediterranean diet, but also the Mediterranean climate that is also changing. As these two things that we share, we are kind of like, we have to stick together in this because we belong together. But things can be very different. If I compare the reality where I grew up with the reality of other countries in the Mediterranean. So I would say that, and I am only speaking for the European side of the Mediterranean, I would say that I agree with this question. Things are different depending on in which moment of your career you are. At the beginning, it might be not that difficult to enter from this side of the Mediterranean. You have opportunities to go to college and study science. I think that it's been, I think, 10 years since we've been celebrating this International Day of Women and Girls in Science. So you can see a lot of women choosing careers in science and going to college and going to university, pursuing careers in science. I think that in this side of the Mediterranean, the problem is once you are in science, then you start facing a lot of barriers and a lot of difficulties in comparison to other people around you, especially your male peers. I think that for those particular barriers, I definitely think that what it needs to change is the system. And we need, for instance, I think that someone mentioned quotas. We need quotas. Quotas doesn't mean that women are less smart and we need help. Quotas means that if the system doesn't work, we find a way to make the system work. Like the thing that I was saying with those awards in Spain, right? It's not that those women didn't deserve the award, it's that they were not even being visible for the jurors choosing who is going to get the award. So it's kind of the same. So I think that in this side of the Mediterranean is very important to change this system, to create these opportunities that right now the system is preventing those people to get those opportunities. But I cannot speak for other countries in the Mediterranean where the reality is extremely different from my reality.
Thank you very much, Alicia. And before closing, just to mention a couple of things from non-European side, because working mainly with women from this region, I can tell you that the challenges are quite similar, meaning that if you look at the data on women position in the academic career in the university, in both sides, the challenges are quite the same. Now, as Nawal was mentioning, there are almost 60% of women graduate, so it's not a matter of access, it's how you get from the graduation to go to leadership position also in academic environment, unfortunately. And this is a common challenge. This is not European, non-European. I would say this is a really common challenge in this sense. I would like to thank you to all of you. And before maybe giving the floor to Giuseppe for the last word, thank you very much. And I say for us, it's just an initial step of a more structured coordination and partnership with all of you. We would like to produce a short document of today's discussion because there were so many input, and also to share the good practices and the links that you have shared with us. And we will be happy to share this with the participants too. It will not come tomorrow, but in the coming weeks. And maybe this can be used as, let's say, starting point to also look for future initiatives in this framework. Thank you again. Thank you all to our colleagues from communication who live stream this event on YouTube. Thank you very much. Giuseppe, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Anna, but I really think that you said it all. Just a quick comment to say that this is the first time the Union for the Mediterranean is convening on this important day. So I think that all the attendees and the panelists, maybe we can put something around our finger to remind ourselves to be here in 1 year to see and talk again and see how much this has changed or not. But it's important to keep the focus on this crucial point. I would like to thank Anna for the wonderful job in moderating this panel. It's also true that it was with the facilitation of wonderful speakers, Antonella and everybody else, but also the participants. And please allow me just to close by saying and sharing a huge thank to our colleagues in communication, Ainhoa Goma, to Salim, that has done a wonderful job in allowing the lights to be on in this seminar, and of course also to Selma. Thank you very much on behalf of the Union for the Mediterranean. Thanks for staying with us until the end, which is not always the case in this kind of webinars, and see you soon. Thank you.